New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm Gil.
And I'm Robyn. And this is Rockin the Love. So good to see you out there. Can we see little numbers pop up? Let us know who you are in the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. This is Rockin the Love, and that's what we like to do here. It is our life philosophy.
Our
right?
life philosophy, our life falafel, that you must rock the love as much as possible.
And that really, at the end of the day, that's all there is. So we are a married couple, happily married for 23 years.
Well, 22 and a quarter or half or something. 22
on the way to 23. And we are living in two different parts of the country right now. It's kind of up in the air. I know some of you think that I was back in Albuquerque for like good, but what really is good? What really is the long term? So I am in Carlsbad, California right now. And
I am holding down the fort right here at our house in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the northwest sector.
Right. And we have been apart for
Brian's with us today. How you doing?
Hey, Brian. We have been apart for how many? Like 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days now. Well, I left on Sunday
Yeah.
morning, early.
Seems like a long time ago.
It does. It does, and that's kind of a good thing. Because if it seemed like not long enough ago, that would be negative.
It would be. So we're so glad you're out there, Brian. We're so glad that you know so many of you are out there listening, whether it's recorded or not recorded. So I guess we talk about how our week was, because this is our first show since the conference, right?
Yes, it is.
So if you watched our show last week, you got a little taste of what was going on, even though we kind of got hijacked at the end there and didn't get to finish. Seems to be a theme in my shows this week. But we had people join us there at the conference when we were fortunate enough to have Reverend Rodney Gittins, Reverend Dr. Sonny Cantrell, the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Sunshine Day. Who else was there? Laura Brzezinski.
Yeah, Laura Brzezinski jumped in. Robert Brzezinski jumped in from
Bonnie Gonzalez.
Bonnie Gonzalez.
I feel like we're missing one
someone. We'll find them.
I feel like we're missing one person, but anyway, it was a good time. And the conference, honestly, for any of you out there, if you get a chance to go, it really is an opportunity to anchor into being a global organization in a different way.
So what conference is this? Because I think not everybody knows.
Well, why don't you tell them?
Okay, I'll tell them. So we were at the Convention of the Americas. which is a bilingual conference in Mexico at Lake Chapala, and has people literally from all over the world that come, particularly all over the Spanish-speaking world, and of course, a lot of people from the United States and Canada.
Right. And so not just Mexico, but Argentina and Colombia and Peru and all different places. So it was really, it was amazing. I mean, I think that, uh, I feel caught in between two worlds when I talk about it, because there's a part of me that to me, it felt like totally normal, because that's the way my people are. They're just festive and they love to party and they're welcoming, and it's that kind of that saying that you've always heard, mi casa es tu casa. It's extended into that my house is your house, meaning wherever I am, there's a place for you, not just my literal house. And I mean, didn't you feel like that, like welcomed anywhere you turned?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that when you said festive and party and inclusive. I mean, just everybody is a part. Nobody's left out, and nobody is nobody is mocked for being too festive. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and people are really nice, and
But it's really
it was
also,
great.
I'm in that joy and in that festivity and in that celebration. It's also a real opportunity to get to know each other on a different level. We're not coming from necessarily trying to solve the problems of the world or being too serious. It's like we're really celebrating who we are and what we're doing in the world. I mean, it was to me,
Well,
the atmosphere felt much lighter than when I just go to a conference and I'm attending the workshops and I keep feeling like I'm supposed to leave and know something new, be able to implement,
right,
some
right.
learning or some training. Whereas this felt like more of a kind of a sharing, I would say, and just an opportunity for everybody to get to, I mean, not that you didn't take things away. There were a lot of things you took away, but an opportunity to do it in a different way.
So it's interesting that you mentioned Mi Casa Tu Casa. What was the theme of the conference in Spanish?
I don't remember.
Your light is my light.
Oh, yeah. You needed me to say that in Spanish?
I was just because it
M-
goes
Mi,
along with the other.
mi luz es tu luz. Oh, yeah.
English.
I get it. Mi casa es tu casa, mi luz es tu luz. Yeah, your light is my light. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And that was the whole thing. It was all about, how do we share our light? How do we show up as a light? How do we support others in being the light? How do we allow ourselves to receive the light that others are already shining, so that we can incorporate it into our own being? I mean, just that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, it was a great conference. It's a great opportunity. If you get a chance to go, you should go. No doubt we'll all be going next year. And so stay tuned, and maybe we'll put together a thing and can join our New Thought Media group down to the south of the border.
South of the border.
South of the border.
So yes, and then of course we've been home for a little while. I came we came right back home to a Jason Mraz concert, which was really cool and right in line with the whole thing. It's one of those
Yeah.
people that does church in his concert without doing church.
Yeah. If any of you
Just his
don't
whole
know him,
attitude is that.
yeah, if any of you don't know him, I was just going to say, definitely check him out. And you probably know him and don't know that you know him. But his music is, yeah, he definitely preaches,
In a
in,
certain way, yeah.
in a certain way. It's
But
all
it's
about the love and self-empowerment, and he's very real, with
yeah.
his pain. And yeah, So Jason Mraz, M-R-A-Z.
I've told several people this week that it's the only concert I've ever been to where the artist of choice, the main gig, was the guy who came out and introduced the opening act. So I was pretty impressed.
It was, I mean, Gil and I have this thing where, when we see different stars or famous people that we're like, oh, there are people. Like you can just tell by things they do that what they do in their real life. We're like, oh yeah, there are people. Yeah, he was totally our people. I mean, he just was present and, he came out in the beginning, talked to the audience, introduced the first act and, shook hands with people in the front row. It's just, there's that element of, and I think this is what we talk about on our show and we strive for in New Thought, but there's that element of authenticity and keeping it real. And, it's clear that he's just being who he is. I mean, like later on he was talking and he said, yeah, it was great meeting so many of you at the pool this week, which isn't necessarily what you think of your superstar concert person out at the pool on the weekend. So,
yeah. Brian obviously knows Mraz too. Yeah, he was great. We saw him in California, and then I flew right back here, and I've spent the last 3 days up at 5:30 in the morning to go to football practice and drop off a certain kid. So that's been a morning experience for me every day. That's been fun. And I go to my first time to see a scrimmage that they're playing this afternoon. So big stuff.
Very exciting. Very exciting. The parental life.
The parental life. Yeah, that doesn't include the work life. That doesn't include all that happened between Monday and now.
No, it doesn't. But, we're not complaining. Other than that, I think the week has been busy. I feel very lonely here. Nobody's here. Just me and the dog. So, because everybody's out of town, Gil's back there, Courtney's in New York, the kids with you. I'm like, what am I here for? What about me? But me and Emma, the dog, are doing fine.
All right.
You want
to go into some good news or?
That brings us up to the time of good news. This is our segment where we talk about what's good in the world, other than all the stuff we just talked about, but like the stuff that makes the news. Because, Lord knows, especially during this time of election and politics season, it's not always easy to find the good news out there. People are happy to tell you what's wrong with everything, but we've got some good news for you. What do you got?
A little too joyful. Well, we've all heard about the issue that has come up in recent years of realizing that microplastics have been invading our water and our food supplies and this kind of stuff. And their buildup in our bodies creates an issue. So the good news is about a couple of high school students that created a way to filter out microplastics using ultrasonic waves. So they actually create a wall of sound and filter the water through it, and it stops 85 to 90% of the microplastics in one pass.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know how well it works if they, if you send it through a couple times, if it increases that quite a bit or what. But at any rate, even that at this point in time is huge. I mean, if we can eliminate 85 to 90% of it out of our water, and that would be huge. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. They also won, it was a contest of creating something, and they won, I believe, in the neighborhood of 50 grand. And their intention is to take that money and figure out if they can figure out how to scale this and actually do something with the technology and make it available. So I thought that was cool.
That is very cool. That is very cool. Yeah, I'm guessing that their parents didn't have to tell them to get off their cell phones a lot.
Well, or if they were on their cell phones, they were probably actually researching.
actually
just saying.
doing something. Yeah.
And not watching YouTube much.
That's for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, my good news story goes to the Olympics. And, we've all heard about Simone Biles and her winning her, 8 medals and being the most medal gymnast and all those things. But what I didn't hear about, maybe you all heard about this, I didn't hear about that the women's gymnastic team actually has a support dog. And the support dog's name is Beacon. And Beacon has been with them for a while and traveled with them to Paris and has traveled throughout the competitions. And that this is really, that the dog is always within petting distance to help the members feel calm and their pre-performance jitters. And, as we all know, the previous Olympics when Simone had to back down because she had that little breakdown thing. And so the dog just travels with them and helps them to focus on their own state of mind. And I thought this was really cool, not only because it's a dog story, and we all know that I like the animal stories a lot, but I think that what I think is really important about this is that somehow in society we're really beginning to get what pressure and nerves and stress and is doing to people, and being able to make some accommodations for that. So it's not just, a thing, because I know a lot of times we think, oh yeah, that's really a support animal when people bring their dogs on the airplane or whatever. But I mean, really, to be able to use it in that way, I just think it's really great, and they said, what better for nerves than a big oafish golden retriever walking by and sticking its nose in your hand. And the trainer of the dog says also that that the dog has incredible intuition and empathy, and that he'll find exactly the right member of the team, whoever's the most nervous or whatever's going on, and go offer their services as a comfort dog if they take that in. And so I think it's it's great. I think it's I think it's just an acknowledgement of where we're growing and what we're open to, and not always necessarily having to go to the medication or the this or the that, but really having an alternative.
Well, I think in America in particular, but we have this long line of Puritan / Protestant work ethic stuff that has come down, and now manifests itself in you do it on your own, you pull yourself up, you make it happen, and basically it's not true. I mean, we all have need of support in different ways at different times, and it doesn't matter who it is. You can be the best gymnast in the world, but you probably can be the best gymnast in the world if you actually have some support, and you can certainly walk away feeling better about it. And I think we forget that. We've been taught that that's if you don't do it on your own, somehow it's less. And like even a support animal is like some kind of crutch. And yeah, it's time to shift that. It's time to shift.
Yeah, and I mean, there was another story that talked about how they're also starting to use dogs, pairing service dogs with stressed out college students, with college students, that are having trouble or whatever. So I mean, I just think it's interesting. I mean, to use what we've got, and again, for me, at the end of the day, when we go through all this, it goes back to the oneness thing too. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, 20 years ago, could we have said in an article, the dog is highly empathic and intuitive? I mean, we can say that now based on, what we know and what we've done and all of that. But I mean, I think there's a different kind of opening. Before somebody would have said, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Well,
So,
I do hear that they're actually offering support animals to stressed out ministers. So I don't know. It's a thing now.
well, if it isn't, it should be, and maybe that's a good business. So, with that note,
I've got one, and he's been a hell of a support.
all right. So I'm sure there's several areas that we could figure out where support animals would be beneficial. But right now, I mean, we have our very own support animal. We call him Michael Mangus. He's our producer, and he keeps us from being stressed out. So we want to thank him for all that he does. And we want to give you all a break for a minute. So go and grab a cup of coffee, or whatever you drink, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about the gift of emergence. What does that mean? Think about it, and you let us know when you come back so that we can talk. All right. We'll see you in a few minutes, right here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Hello, we are back. This is Rockin the Love, and I am Robyn.
I'm Gil, and we are excited to be with you today when we're going to be talking about something of emergence, the gift of emergence.
The gift of emergence. And I want to welcome Shay. Shay, good to see you out there. Yay, Brian. Brian stopped listening to us for a minute and got a call to speak. Yay.
Yay.
It's just a mecca of wonderful things happening at one time, which leads us right into our topic, the gift of emergence. So I do tell, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. What is
Well,
emergence? I mean, yeah. What is emergence to you, I guess?
well, emergence is a concept in terms of a kind of a spiritual concept. It's a concept of what's coming forth, of what's trying to happen, if you will, what's the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us, whether we're choosing to take them or not. Spirit is always emerging in greater and greater portions, in the sense that we're always, if we're growing spiritual, we're seeing more and more of where spirit is and what's happening and how we are being held in the world. That's my thought. What about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I hear emergence a lot with science,
Mm,
and because I think that's where I just hear the words emergent a lot.
mhm.
And I get that it's not necessarily confined to a biological system, but it's really um, I don't know. I mean, you said it, but I think it's just the interacting. It's like the interacting systems in our daily lives that emerge, that come through, that are present, that and how I think they continually emerge and overlap and connect.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I think the idea is we sometimes get in a place where we think that everything is kind of the same. Everything's kind of rote. Everything's just humming along. Sometimes we think even that it's really great, that it's just humming along, nothing's happening, everything's a routine and all of that. And um, the reality is that we are, as biological beings, et cetera, there's this constant change happening within our bodies, within our cells. There's constant growth and movement and change. And within our species, there's constantly new things that are popping up as people are born, new mutations of genes and stuff that we didn't know of, that we go, oh, that's really great. Things change all the time. And that's what's happening in the natural world, and it's what's happening within us. And so emergence is not that thing of change being a fearful thing, but what's coming forth, what's showing up that we have the opportunity to participate in now.
Yes. There's something about the word emergence to me. I don't know if it's if it's a form of the word emergency or
Uh-huh.
what, but there's something about emergent that makes it sound more drastic, more imperative, more important, and more unstoppable in
Uh-huh.
some ways. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm just saying. So when you say the gift of emergence, I feel like everything is emerging anyway. Like I can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
God knows I've tried, but I can't. And so how do I translate that or interpret or find the gift of that, what might feel like a lot. Emergence, I don't know why, but it feels sort of heavy in a way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
Well,
know.
I'll tell you, this definitely came to me because we've been doing a book study with the group around the idea, around a book called The Abundance Project, which is by Derek Rydell, and he also wrote a book about emergence, but that they merged some of the ideas in here. But one of the examples um, was about, which I think most of us have heard or thought about an acorn. An acorn, which goes into the ground, and it can become an oak tree, which is something completely different and huge, right? Um, But what if the acorn, here's a quote, what if the acorn had self-consciousness? It might try to hold on to its protective shell and its acorn identity. It might even call up some healers to repair its shell when it starts cracking. And if it succeeded in this, the most it could hope for is to become the best nut in the forest, but it would never fulfill its true potential. See, that to me is the thing, that when we work, if it's a lot of work to stop something that's coming, I think we're probably trying to stop, evolution. We're trying to stop the process somehow. We're not receiving the process. And I think a lot of us have been caught in, this is who I believe I am. This is my box right here. And so when it starts to look like there's something wrong with the box or there's something pushing out, we try to figure out how to pull it back in and hold it together. And this has been my experience. Try to hold it together rather than go, what's happening here? What's the gift? What if I look through the crack? What do I see? What's out there? You know, what am I being called toward?
Yeah, well, Brian said, I like the inevitability, like the emergent church. It's spirit's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you already acknowledged evolution. Yeah. So that said, I mean, I think that, you know, the gift of emergence. Talk about that.
The gift is in what's, for me, what's beyond my ability sometimes to see. It's what's coming forth that I may not understand until I allow myself to step into it to some degree. And so the gift of emergence is what comes into my life if I open up to that gift, if I open up to what's possibly happening, if I take advantage of the things that are coming into my life. There's another thing that Derek says in the book. He says, the abundance you're seeking is a component of the next stage of your growth. If you don't let go of the protective shell of your old identity and give into this larger life trying to happen, you block all the supply that comes with it. So for me, that translates into this idea that we stop the flow in our lives, we stop the opportunities, we stop the things, and we don't even realize we're doing it because we feel like we're protecting something that's really important, or we can feel like we're protecting something really important, when in reality, we may be trying to stop what's trying to emerge. So, I mean, yes, there's times when we need to protect in some level, but I think a shift from feeling like we need to protect and defend to a stance of, what are we allowing? Where's the gifts? Where are the gifts that are coming toward me? Where are the gifts that I'm being pulled into? You know?
I do know. So, you know, I'm listening to you and thinking about where again, I mean, because this is, you know, there's probably many words or concepts we could substitute into this conversation and have the conversation be the same conversation. And so the gift of emergence. So how do we, you know, how do we not only receive the gift, but how do we nurture the gift? How do we bring it, you know, welcome it, bring it into fruition in a way that, you know, because I know a lot of times we fight against what may appear to be change or something other than, you know, what we think it should look like right in that moment.
Well, let me just comment. You know, something I heard the other day, that, you know, part of this idea is about letting go of our protection of what is. In other words, that idea of releasing what we're hanging on to tightly to allow for what's coming. Okay. And this person said to me, you know, I've known several people who have gotten divorced. And when I see them a couple of years later, it is amazing, generally speaking, the change in their life and how they have blossomed into something new and different. Because whatever was causing that relationship to have that energy of breakage, once that was released, they could move on. And, you know, and often that's what it feels like, even, you know, like the acorn getting out of the shell, you're breaking apart this thing that's been your protection, your whole means of survival, in order to allow in the gift of the next stage of your life, of your growth. And that's what's merging through you. So that's kind of a practical, obviously it's an observation of a single person, but I thought it was an interesting statement.
It is an interesting statement. And the for me, the flip side is, I mean, we don't know what was possible had it remained the other way. It's all really what we do with it, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I would say yes. I hear you. There's a lot of things we can change in terms of our attitudes and decisions in things. But if we're not, for whatever reason, we aren't able to move into the next stage without releasing something, sometimes that's what it takes.
Right. Well,
you know, and
exactly.
whether it's our attitude, whether it's our belief in how exactly it should look, or whether it's the reality that some relationship, it just doesn't function the way it should, and I'm not able to function in it. It may not even be a function of the other person at all. It's that my ability to function within it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating divorce. I was just using that as an example. And yes, I hear you.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating staying together. I mean, I think that it's just, it, you know, it's all relative, right? Obviously,
Right.
we could take any situation and we could make it work any way we decided to make it work, you know? And so obviously if you're, yeah, I don't want to get off topic because that's just, in some ways that's just perspective. But Shay said the gift is in the journey of the emergence.
Yes, I think that's often the case. It's in what we discover along the way that we didn't expect to, we didn't see before, we didn't expect. We didn't know about ourselves. We didn't know the strength we had. We didn't know our capacity for compassion, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I mean, and so in some ways it really goes back to, you know, I know this has been said over and over in different ways when people talk about, you know, the innocence and the wonder and the whatever of a baby or of a young child or whatever. It's, can we as adults be able to walk in that way where really we don't know on some level, even if we know on
Right.
every level what's happening next, but we don't know, and being open to whatever is emerging and seeing that in a new way or with a new possibility.
Allowing something to emerge that we're not predicting or manipulating. I guess that's at some level the thing. I mean, when we're set in our thing and we know this is how it goes, this is what I do, this is what happens when I get there, this is, you know, and we have that kind of laid out piece for ourselves, there's not any room to show up and go, well, what's going to happen today?
Right.
You know, even if we're showing up to the exact same place, the same job, the same school, the same whatever it is, you know, the same spouse, for instance, even. You know, if I don't show up and go, well, what do we got today? What's going to happen? And kind of have that openness to it, to what could be, and see what starts to show up. See where the journey takes us, as Shay mentions.
Well, and not even, I mean, not only where the journey takes us, but how we create the journey. You know, how we allow or create the next steps. Like it reminds me of when I think I've used this story before on here, but here it is again. When I was waitressing, and my friend was the bartender, I was the waitress back in the bar area of the restaurant, and we'd have our everyday lunch clientele from all the people in the restaurant. And we set our intention one morning. We were like, this is going to be the best day ever. We are going to make more money than we ever imagined, or whatever we said. And at the end of our lunch shift, which was like a 2-hour shift, we had made over $500 a piece, which is ridiculous.
Particularly at the time.
Particularly at the time and for a lunch shift. But, someone came in that and tipped us $250 each or something. And, things like that happen. So, but I mean, I say that to just say, what also plays into it. What are we creating? I mean, yes, we're allowing things to emerge, but we're also co-creating, right?
Well, we're also, I think, our intention and that kind of thing is what allows us to see what's possible. I mean, if you show up at your shift the way you always show up at your shift, and you go, oh, it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Hi folks, how are you? I mean, yeah, it's going to be pretty normal. But if you have this anticipation of what's possible, you can see something, and you're open, then the person that leaves you $2, you have the same kind of interaction with, but that opens a space for the person with $250 to leave it for you.
Right.
Because you bring forth your whole self into all of it. And
I haven't limited it by going, oh God, I just want to get through these 2 hours, and I need to make $78 to pay my light bill and blah, blah, blah. I've gone, this is going to be the best day ever. And what does that look like on some level, and opened it up. And so, I mean, so I think a question is, can we walk in that place of not blocking any emergence? Because it's like, I get the image of like a, Marvel hero with the shield, like blocking the emerging things, like, no, not that, not right now, I'm not ready for that. Oh, no, not that. Like, can we allow and incorporate it into our plan of what's possible? Are you thinking about the answer?
Well, let's try not to burp on camera. So that was one thing. Yes, I was thinking about, even this idea that all of a sudden our godson wants to live here, and you are probably going to be able to be here much more than before because of that. Well, I certainly could have resisted for many reasons, or not encouraged, or not supported the idea. If I had a set thought in my mind about, no, we've already figured out where, this house, this is what it can do for us. This is where this is. That's where that is. I don't have time. My job is too much. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, I know we've had the tinge of, I think we're nuts on the one hand, but on the other hand, we don't know what's coming forth out of this. And there's some level at which we're already seeing some interesting results. They're at the very least going to offer us all a new a new path to go through, right?
Yeah, I think Shay said it perfectly. She said it's the realm of infinite possibility,
Right.
which, as you know, is where I like to live anyway, which kind of makes you crazy sometimes. But I mean, but that's it. It's like, like I said to you this morning, we had a meeting with some people, and we're talking about all these great things, and then we talk about all the things that needed to happen, and those would feel like more of a weight. And I was like, I can't live in both worlds, I because if I can't be in the, oh yeah, this is great and this is what's going to happen and here's what we're going to do, and then but what if, and how are we going to get this done? I'm like, I don't have those answers, but by the same token, my brain, I'm just saying me right now as an individual, I'm not saying anybody else can't do it or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I can't I can't do it anymore.
Mm.
I can't I can't straddle both fences. I have to either be, okay, I don't know how, and it's not my business. God's got it. Let's go. Let's just keep moving this direction. Or I can sit around and talk about, I don't know how, what are we gonna do? Which I really can't do anyway because I get bored. I mean, you know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, I do very much so. And the other thing that I know and that I've been thinking about myself today is it also becomes or can become um, somewhat scary. And so, while on the one hand it's exciting, is another place at which it often leads to unfamiliar territory. And that means I don't know exactly how well I do there or whatever. And it also means that it could challenge others who are part of the same thing. And how am I going to deal with that? And what if somebody doesn't like, there's just all these things. And yet, when you have vision and you can see the larger thing coming, then as it emerges, you don't know how it's going to emerge, but as it shows up, you start to go, oh my gosh, here it is. And sometimes things emerge like way sooner than you think. Like, why is this happening now? We're not ready. I can't do this yet.
Yeah,
And
this
that's
wasn't
kind of
part
what
of
I'm
the
feeling
plan.
right now. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and but then, yes, and I mean, I would offer this to anybody because I'm gonna bet it's pretty much the same. Like we're like, wait, what? Why now? Wait, that's too fast. I'm not ready for this. Da 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 da. And I feel like it's like that joke of the man that that asked for the helicopter, or why didn't you send me away to get whatever that joke is? Why didn't you send me away to get off?
Somebody's in the flood and they come with a
Yeah,
jeep and they say,
and
"Oh
God
no,
says,
God's going to save me." And they
yeah,
come with
God's
the
gonna save
canoe,
them.
and then they come with the helicopter because he's on his roof, and
Yeah, but I feel like that it's like, because really, uh, anything we're asking for on some level, I'm gonna guess we've been asking all of our life. It may have looked differently, but we've been asking for, that abundance or that lavish feeling taken care of, or being able to create something to serve a lot of people, or, and that doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're looking at, getting a role on a sitcom and making people laugh, or if you're trying to do something to go out and, take shows to the troops across the world. It doesn't matter the scope of what you're doing. It just matters the intention, and the intention is the same, on some level. So it's not like, whoa, it's happening so fast, as opposed to, and I mean, you at the center, it feels like, yikes, it's all happening at once, and yet it's not happening at once. You've had a vision of a center for like this forever, probably since you were a teenager,
yeah.
and so here it is, and again, the shield, it's like, hold on, not right now. Okay, I'm coming. Okay. It's a lot. And so the gift of
Yeah.
emergence.
So here's something that Derek says in the book, which I highlighted because I thought it was so funny. Not funny, but anyway, you'll get it. That he's asking, like, where are you currently struggling against change, etc. And he says, you're trying to change the world, but stay the same.
Exactly.
I want it to be the same. I want it to be predictable. I want it to be, so I know what the risks are, and I know,
Yeah.
and you can't change, you can't implement what you have to give. You can't show up and offer people something new and interesting if you can't be new and interesting, if you will.
Right. And I would say by the same token, like I remember, 30 years ago, I took a class that was called the Morning Program, and it was for actors and artists and creative people, and part of it was, if you think that when you are famous or working or whatever, then you're going to have time to, go feed the animals or be, a spokesperson for, a certain cause. It's not true. You're going to be busier then. So if that's who you are, you need to be doing that now, and it's the same concept as, like, if I'm, it's being who you are, as to not changing. It's like, if my dream is to do it, I need to be it.
So that's interesting, because this has been rolling through my head since you made the comment about my vision forever. 35 or 40 years ago.
Yeah, who's counting? It's okay.
How old am I now? Yeah, anyway,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
When I had the first little church that I was the pastor of, and I remember having the vision of a complex with a lake and a whole thing. And down the street was a big piece of property that was for sale or something. It's a big piece of property. And I walked that property and all the way around the edges of it, and seeing the vision of what could be. Now, clearly, I'm nowhere near that property because it's in Northern California and I'm in New Mexico. But I think, when you say, when we act as if, there was some level at which, probably without my real knowledge, at some level I was acting as if in that moment, and that as if is beginning to show its beginnings now. Right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's
This
crazy.
life. This is a crazy life.
I guess so. All right.
Okay. And Shay says, it's the revealing of who I am, more of taking stuff out than putting good stuff in.
That is true. We're peeling away what we no longer need so that we can show up in the fullness of who we already are.
Yep. So that is beautiful and perfect way to leave this. I think that as a charge for the week, really. I mean, can we do that? Say that again. Showing up.
It's about peeling away what's no longer needed, releasing that, and allowing what's already, the power that's within us, to show itself, to emerge from us.
Yeah.
All right. Brian says, Shay, you're right on.
Yeah. Good one, Shay. And Shay, I will say that Shay said, I love you guys.
That was nice.
So good. Laughing. Yeah, I think laughing and loving is a big part of it as well, because, if you don't laugh and love not only each other, but especially yourself, you can't rock the love. And God knows the world needs it. So that's the invitation for the week, right?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
What's left is who we, so Brian said, when we release what's in the way, what's left is who we are. That's right. And I think so often we are unaware of who we are. We're unaware of the reality of who we are at some level. And that's what's emerging always, is the real us. I mean, that's the acorn, the oak emerging from the acorn. That's the butterfly emerging from the creepy crawly thing that I can't think of in this moment.
The
But
caterpillar.
Caterpillar, thank you. It's the, it's the baby bird coming out of the shell. I mean, it's all of that. It's releasing so that we can emerge into who we are.
Who we are, as opposed to who we think we are or who we need
Right.
to be.
Right.
Okay, I don't know about you all, but I need a nap. That's a lot. That's a lot. But the important part is that whoever you are, know that you are loved and take that love back out into the world. And we're going to keep exploring and delving into finding out more of who we are and who we're meant to be right here on Rockin the Love. So join us next week.
Rock
Okay,
on.
everybody. I can't find my camera. Okay. Rock the love, everybody. See you next week.